Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Velvet. So, Velvet, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Hi, my name is Velvet Lattimore. I am the owner of VDazzling accessories. What I do is I curate amazing accessory pieces that are vintage pieces and handcrafted designs. They're all accessories, and I've been doing it for over 15 years. And I'm located in New York City.
Awesome. So how did you kind of get into this business? What inspired you to go ahead and start this business?
I've always been a lover of accessories, and I started out after college working in the fashion industry as a production coordinator. And I interned for a couple of places that was really fantastic at the time. And I've always been interested in unique little pieces, which led me to collecting pieces for myself. And after collecting pieces, I thought people would always ask me for them, where did I get them from? So I decided to just start reselling them, just sort of like as a hobby. Then it turned into a business.
Awesome. No, that's cool. Yeah, I think for me, my first business also was sort of like a hobby. I used to collect autographs and I would sell them online. So I'm curious more about your business, right? Do you make the accessories now, or are you still sort of sourcing them from elsewhere? What does that kind of look like?
I do not make the accessories. What I do is I work with local artists that are here in New York City. I buy their pieces wholesale and then I resell them on my website and at different pop-up events. I used to have a brick and mortar space, and before the pandemic, I actually closed. And I realized how wonderful it is to be online. And I'm now going back to a physical brick and mortar. So when I did have the storefront, I would have the artists come in and do a showcase and invite all of their following and my guests, and we would see their launch of their product. But I just buy and resell. I also go to trade shows, but I most likely will stick to the format of working with local artists because the pieces are just so unique and they're not mass produced.
No, that's awesome. So it's really just artists sort of in your network in New York City, and you kind of just work with them, and kind of okay, these people are good at making these accessories that are a fit for your brand, because you essentially have certain customers that are looking for these unique products.
Yes, correct. I have a lot of people who are always asking about the products. Local artists just have a rich experience and journey that people feel connected to. And it just makes the piece a little bit more special because you're buying from the actual artist.
Exactly. No, that's awesome. So in terms of obviously that you've been doing it for some time. So what do you kind of do to get the word out there? I guess at one point that there was some level of maybe more marketing, but now is it more so word of mouth? What does that kind of look like for you?
Well, I had to prepare a budget. And because now, once I just decided to join the online space and not have an actual brick and mortar, it was a lot easier because people would wander in, or they're captivated by the window space, that my visual merchandising. But being in an online space is a different competitive market. So I had to receive a budget. And I do online marketing, email marketing campaigns, and social media. I work with influencers, and then also I have it where the artists that I buy and resell from, that it's kind of mandatory once you're in my online store to promote your pieces to your following as well. So I do have the artists tagging and doing posts. We do collaborative posts so that folks know that they can find these unique pieces on my website as well as theirs.
Awesome. So do you run ads as well, or what does that look like?
I do run ads, and it's very interesting. I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to eventually hire an ad specialist, a digital marketing specialist, to create a campaign for me and a digital marketing strategy. But in the beginning, it was horrible because I was doing myself and I didn't really know what I was doing, and sending and boosting posts, which wasn't smart. I didn't know. And so now that I have an actual understanding, I do receive sales through that.
Awesome. So in terms of your customers, I mean, obviously, so because you mentioned when the store was like a bit different, but as of today, right, where do you see people buying it? Are they typically still like in New York? Are they all across the country? Are they even international? Like where are most of your customers located today?
Oh, they're located all over. I'm very lucky that I have a ton of people who are, use my New York City noise.
Hmm.
And I have the windows closed. So I do happen to have people who buy from all over. I've been lucky enough to get people in Hawaii and Canada, all throughout the United States. So being online has actually opened up my doors a little bit more than when I had the storefront in the city, where now people find me all over. And I've had repeat customers as a result of that as well, from like
Yeah.
all over different states.
Yeah, I'm curious also in terms of like demographics. Do you typically see it like more men or women or a certain age? Because I obviously that you sell accessories for men like, and women as well.
Well, both, but most of my demographic are women. But I
Okay.
do have men's items, and randomly I get sales from men. I really do.
And then are they typically people who are like a certain age, like older, younger, kind of like what do you see? Are they kind of like all across the board?
My age range is primarily 35 and up. Well, 35 to 60. But at one point last year, I had a spike and it was women over the age of 55. So I was in the 55 to 65 market, which was pretty different and unique. But I had to do a study and I realized that that age group is always looking for unique pieces and things to spice up their look, going to more events because they are retirees and some are have the knowledge of road travel and understand the uniqueness of some of the pieces.
No, that's awesome. And you were saying, right, because like you're still doing pop-ups and events. So yeah, I'm curious about that. Obviously, like here in Austin, you can do events at this time of year, but like in New York, it gets a bit cold. So do you kind of focus more like in the summertime or and like how often do you typically have those pop-ups?
I do pop up once a month. I have to scale back. I don't do as much as I used to when I was at the storefront. So I don't do as much. And it's not because of the weather. It's just that I've seen traffic online. And so I've been dedicating a lot of my space and time to online. But I will do pop ups when friends or artists ask me to. It's also a way to get more names and more people, more visibility to your piece. So don't do as much. I used to do them like every other week. But now I do it like once a month in special occasions for friends and customers that really that I know and I trust.
Do you travel like outside of New York to do shows as well, or really are you focused on the local area for pop-ups and like in-person events?
I used to. I used to travel. I used to do events in Florida, Atlanta. I actually did a really successful event in Baltimore, Maryland. But since the pandemic, I have not. I've mostly done local. I've been asked to do things in other states like I used to before. And so it's just been online. I do a lot of live events, which I know it's not the same, but I do live pop-ups on my website and on Instagram Live, and I'll be dipping into the TikTok market soon. I'm still trying to figure out what those kind of lives will look like.
That's awesome. So in terms of those lives, yeah, I'm always curious about that. So, I'm assuming you probably like will go and say like make an announcement of when you're going to go live and then people will join. Are those pretty successful? Like, do you get people buying things like during like the live or like how many people typically tune in? I'm curious like how much success you've had with going
I
live.
have had success on the live. Now, sales have been up and down. Like I did a live 2 weeks ago in January, no, 3 weeks ago in January, and I only had 17 people on a live, but I made one sale, which it's a numbers game. Sometimes you'll get, at one time I had 37 folks on the live and zero sales. So it's really iffy. Some people do like to just watch. And then sometimes I make sales after the live. And I'm not sure if it's because of the live or if it's because of the ads. So, but I've had sales that like happen after the live. So I'm not really sure how to capture that data.
Right.
But lives have been really successful for me. It also gets more eyes again. So I don't really try to focus hardcore on making sales, but more so getting people to realize I'm alive my business is here.
For sure. So obviously now we're still in Q1 of 2025. So what are some of the biggest goals and objectives that you have for your business for this year?
The biggest objectives.
Yeah,
So my biggest objective really is to push more online. I've recently opened up an Amazon store last year. I haven't done much with it, but the goal is to push that and to just stay true to the customers who have been shopping with me since 2011. And I want folks to, that's why I want to stick to the locally based artists, because that story is what resonates with folks. So I want to stick to that objective for 2025. And even more now than ever, people really do believe in local shopping and buying products domestically. And since I've done that for, a good job at that, I do see that the trend for that is happening. And I'm excited to be a part of that world now.
for sure. Yeah, I think it's good. I think especially like in New York, it's a great place to be because yeah, I mean, locals obviously always important, but it is the biggest city in the US, right? So you have like a lot of people and a lot of people who can shop and might be interested.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm enjoying it. So that's, I guess, I don't know if that answered you, but
Yeah, no,
that's my
that's
focus
good.
and objective. Okay.
For sure. So if you could go back in time to before you started this business, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
I wish I knew more about having a correct ad budget. No one tells you, when you start a business, people primarily say that you need to do marketing and advertising, but no one gives you a realistic budget for marketing, advertising, your business. They just sort of say, oh, you have to market, you have to do ads. What does your ads look like? But people don't tell you that ads actually what the realistic amount that you should be like, even if you get a loan or you apply for a small business grant, what is the amount that you should be actually asking for? Because with advertising, it is not a one day thing. It is an actual continuous journey. And as trends change, your ads change, you might have to purchase a team by outsourcing, like I had to do. I had to purchase or hire a digital marketing specialist. That comes with ad spending. So I wish that I would have told my beginning self that that is the most important thing. And if I had that correct, I would have probably been further along in my business than I am now. I didn't really catch on until later on.
So yeah, I'm curious about that. If you can expand in terms of like ad spend, like what did you learn? Is it like a certain percent of your revenue, or like what did you kind of learn in terms of like how much you allocate for those things?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't like. I think I mentioned earlier. I thought that you could just do like boost a post. You always see those on Instagram. So let me give $20. But I didn't understand that in the beginning. That sometimes you have to have at least $1,000 to $10,000 to spend. You have to really pay real money. And not even $100. In order to see results and also to see real change. And so you have to allocate more than what I thought. And so years ago, I thought I could just do a $5 day ad on Facebook because that's what I thought you can do because that's what
Right.
Facebook tells you. But it's really a sinking hole, in my opinion. I hate to be so
Yeah.
candid
Yeah.
because you can't just pay $100, at $5 a day or whatever, and think you're going to reach a larger audience because
Right.
Facebook will not push you through the algorithm. They will only push people who are giving real money.
Exactly.
And you have to have a real solid marketing strategy. And I didn't understand that. I would just say, oh, I have a new ring I'm selling, or I'm selling a new necklace. Let's just put that out there and send an ad. And actually, that's not how it works. So I should have had more experience in that when I first started. And I didn't know that that was the most important portion of your business.
Well, that's good advice. So, Vala, if somebody's watching this and if they wanted to find your business, like if they wanted to reach out, what's the best way for somebody to get in contact?
My email is vdazzling@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, which is vdazzlingaccessories.com. I'm located on Instagram at VDazzling, TikTok VDazzling, and Instagram VDazzling. And VDazzling is VEDAZZLING, and accessories ACCESSORIE. VDazzling, the V stands for me, Velvet. VE.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Well, Velvet, thanks so much for your time today. Of
thank you, Dan. This was great. Thanks for the chat.
course.